is going on, guys? As promised, I'm going to be doing a comparison of the 3 hottest tanks going right now. So first off, I'll go through which ones I'm going to do, and then we'll go through the basic features of them. So we're going to be doing the Heracles Cyclone. I'll be using that on a mystery box. We're going to be doing the Triforce by CCI. I'll be using a steady modding box on that. By the way, both of those are these right here. This is a series box. They'll have a 0.6 coil on it. This is a series box that has a 0.5 coil on it. And then we'll also be doing the Smok TFV4. There we go. I'll be using that on an IBV4, upgraded to 120 watts. I'll be running at 120 watts. It has a 0.2 Canthal coil in it. So let's go through the features and start out with the Cyclone. And I just went to the website, and I'm just going to read them right off my phone. What the features are: 100% stainless steel. Let's see, I can't really put that where you can see it when I'm reading this though. 3 separate airflow intakes, can handle 150 watts. It's a top fill design. There's temperature control coils available. Rebuildable RBA head, a split back protection system, or spit back protection, I'm sorry. Unique anti-leak design, Pyrex tank, 5mm tank capacity, copper atomizer contact pin, a wide bore stainless drip tip. It's a 22mm diameter, standard 5-tin connection, and there's an authenticity code on the box. So that's the features to the Cyclone. Let's look at the next one. Let's look at the TFV4s. Their features that they've published. It's 100% stainless steel design, wattage range of 40 to 140 watts. The quad coil's resistance is 0.15, which I said 0.2. That's what I've got in there, is that 0.15 quad. They also have the tri-coil, which is a 0.2 resistance. It has a top fill design. The top cap is placed on a hinge, allowing it for easy fill. Has a dual layered drip tip design to dissipate heat from the vapor. Dual coil and single coil RBA kit is an option on these. 5-tin connection with a 5mm capacity. So that basically tells you the general features of the TFV4. And then the Triforce here, one of the features that they publish is that it has airflow control, a copper positive pin that extends beyond the 510 to prevent shorting on hybrid mods, top fill and bottom fill design, a Pyrex tank, a spacer to prevent heat transfer to the mod, pre-built vertical coils with a capacity of 5ml. So that is what they all say out on their website. So we will go through and break down these tanks. I will compare them on each category. Got some notes taken, so I'll try to be as thorough as possible. Just so you guys know, this is just my opinion, and it is the way I have it set up on my mods, so where they perform the best. So I wanted to give each of these tanks the best opportunity in this shootout. So with that being said, let's start some comparison in the categories. Okay, let's take a look at the 5-tin connections on these. Big thing for me is to make sure that they're safe for use on hybrid mods. We've all seen out on the internet all these different people that have blown their hands up or blew their face up because they used a tank on a hybrid. Well, in order to make sure that that's safe, all you have to do is make sure the copper pin protrudes well below the outside casing where the threads are at. That way there's no crossover, there's no short on top of the battery. So let's take a look at each of these. On the Cyclone, see if I can get this up to where you guys can see that and get that to focus. As you can see on there, it's not wanting to focus, but you get a good idea there. It's not protruding at all. It is just simply flush. Not safe for use on a hybrid. So on the Cyclone, don't use this on a hybrid. On the Triforce, you take a look at this, see if we can get that to focus. You can clearly see that pin is sticking out well below the threads Therefore, you won't have any crossover there when it hits the top of the battery. The Triforce is indeed safe to use on a hybrid. And on the TFV4, we have another flush. It is not completely flush, but very close. Not safe for use on a hybrid. So, the Triforce, that one's easy. It's really objective. I mean, you can't deny that that sticks out below there. So the Triforce definitely gets the edge as far as safety use on a hybrid mod. Next thing I want to talk about is airflow, just the basic airflow on the tank. So if you take a look at the Cyclone here, you can see it has two slots down there on the bottom. Those slots are adjustable, so you can open and close that to wherever you like it. I'm going to run it wide open because obviously choking it off isn't going to matter. What we're concerned about is how much airflow can you get out of it. So let's take a look, and so you can kind of hear it, but this is where the airflow is on this one. So that's a fairly tight draw for me. It might be good for one of you guys that like a tighter draw, but to me that is just a little bit on the tight side. So we take a look at the airflow on the Triforce. As you can see there is two holes, rather large holes on there, and it also turns and pinches off, so you can go from wide open to nothing if you would like there. Again, I'll run this one wide open. You can take a listen to it. You can hear how much air is coming into it, and then I'll tell you what I think. Airflow for days there. So, you know, if you didn't like a lot of airflow, the beauty is with that being adjustable, you can pinch that off halfway. Now the draw is more like that of the Cyclone. So I like the fact that they have tons of airflow, but with the adjustability to set it to where anybody could set it to where they like it. And then the TFV4, it has 4 holes on there, and they are adjustable too, so you can turn this bottom ring and close that off if you would like. Again, I'll run this one wide open with all 4 open. This one falls right between the Triforce and the Cyclone in airflow. It's certainly not open as wide as what the Triforce is, but it does have better airflow than the Cyclone. Me personally, I'd like to see that open up a little bit more, especially with the adjustability. I don't see why you wouldn't open it up really wide, so then you can pinch it off. You can never basically, this fly is driving me nuts. Anyway, that'll be entertainment for you guys. But basically, you know, you can't add airflow, but you always can take it away. So I don't understand why they wouldn't do it that way. But this falls in between the two of them on airflow. Okay, next we'll talk about juice flow control. This will be simple because only one of these tanks has that option. If you like that option, there's only one of them that you'll like, and it's the Cyclone. As far as juice flow controls, like Freemax Star, the Pro 2, or the new one that they have out, has it. That's my only experience with juice control, and I know when you would open it up and let it sit, it just dump all the juice out the bottom onto your mod, so you had to keep it turned off completely, and it's, to me, a really useless feature. I think that the coil should perform at a high level of wattage without having to have the juice control adjusted. But anyway, the way it works on the Cyclone is the whole tank here turns on there, which is kind of cool, but it has an off and an on, and I turn it off, and it's got a plate in here, so the juice flows down in there. If you turn it off, it stops flowing down into that second chamber, and then when it's off, all it does is it ends up dry hitting. So I'm not sure what the advantage is to that, but with their design, you're not going to get leaking by leaving it open all the way, because the airflow is way up here. So I leave it wide open. to me, it's a useless feature. I don't see what the benefit is. I don't understand why you couldn't just design it to where the juice flow is correct to the coil that they designed for. So the Cyclone does have it. I thought it, in fairness, to mention that just in case if for some reason you know more than me and you know of some reason that you would use juice flow control, that would be an advantage to you. I don't know what the advantage is. So anyway, Cyclone is the only one that has the juice flow control. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is leaking. Nobody wants a leaky tank. Now keep in mind, a lot of these are manufactured in factories in large batches, so they can vary from one to another. So the only thing I can talk about is the ones that I have. And I have heard on the internet from everybody that a couple of these have leaking issues. I personally have not had any leaking issues, so there's not a lot to talk about. But I'll tell you what I know about them. So on the Cyclone, this one's probably got the best design for anti-leak that I've ever seen, is in the fact that the airflow control is on this plate that has holes in it, so this chamber drips into this chamber, so you fill them both up with juice. When you fill from the top, it just goes down in there. Well, where your leaking typically occurs is at the airflow at the point where the coil connects. Well, the coil connects down here in a completely sealed chamber, so there's really no way for this to leak juice. I don't know what the insides of that look like right there, but this one, it hasn't leaked at all, so I've had no issues with it. Now the Triforce, I've heard rumors that it leaks, but I haven't had any issues with it. As you can see on the bottom there, it's dry. There's no juice inside the airflow control. And the trick is right here, when you pull this apart and you put the coil in there, there's a little rubber seal in there. As long as you make sure that rubber seal is seated correctly and not kinked or anything, you're not going to have any leaking issues. Now, it could leak if that seal is not properly made, so it's more or less an education thing. As long as when you change your coils, you're checking to make sure that that seal in there is correct, this isn't going to leak. The TFV4, I don't know as much about the insides on it, but it does have the airflow on the bottom. I have not had any leaking problems with this. Now, I've heard on the internet a lot of people saying that they are leaky. I can only speak to the model that I have. This one right here has not leaked at all. So as far as all three of these go, on the models I have, I say that none of them leak. I have no issues with that. Like I said, somebody else could have a model that has a defect or flaw in it, and it could leak too. So, but me personally, no issues with leaking on any of these tanks. Juice capacity, looking at the three of them together, you might say, okay, there's definitely some differences in juice capacity. When I just look at it at a glance, it would look like this one with the two, this one right here with the real wide tank might be more. This one right here might be more because it has the two chambers, and then the Triforce in the center, it has a taller tank. So just looking at them, it's impossible to say, but they're actually all on an even playing ground. They're all 5 milliliters in capacity, so no difference there. Just felt that I should mention they're all the same. Next feature to discuss is the drip tip airflow. Stock standard out of the box, the Cyclone and the TFV4 both come with it. The Triforce does not. However, they do offer an upgrade kit with the Triforce that has a rebuildable deck, and then it has a metal top with the airflow control on the top. I personally don't even understand what this feature is for. I would think you would want all your air coming in from under the coil or at the coil to assist in the production of vapor. If the airflow is coming in at the top, it's adding airflow into the vapor that has already been created. Now it may offer like a cooling feature, so if the vapor coming out was too hot for you, you wanted production, you can add that air in there to cool it off, but it's still going to diminish the amount of vapor you got because you're pulling air into the vapor cloud. So this one right here, you can see it just turns really simple. Nothing fancy there, but it does have that airflow control up there at the drip tip. That's the Cyclone. And then on the TFV4, same thing up top there. Just got a little spinner. As you can see, I got them closed off. I think it's a useless feature. I don't use it. If you like it, this is important for you to know. And then look at the Triforce. it doesn't have it. However, like I said, the upgrade kit, which I don't have yet, plan on getting it, does have it. I wouldn't be getting it reason. I'd be getting it because I would like the look of the metal tip on the top. Although the plastic is actually much more comfortable. So that's a little bit about the drip tip airflow control. And to piggyback on that, let's just talk about the drip tips in general. That's important to some people. So the drip tip on the Cyclone, just a standard wide bore drip tip. It is removable, so you can pull it out and put your own drip tip in there. I have not tried any others. It does look a little big, so you may have some fit issues on there. One thing interesting to note on this, I don't know if you can see this, but there is like this is where the Cyclone name comes in. There is like this turbine looking thing in there. There you go. You can see it now. That is to prevent the spit back. But anyway, the drip tip, nothing fancy. It's a metal drip tip. It does have like a Delrin coating on the inside. Have not had any heat issues with it. The drip tip on the Triforce, it is just standard, somewhat chuff style. That is the one thing I really do like about it. It is wide bore. It's not too wide though. And it's just plastic. The top on this one is reverse threaded, so to loosen it you just got to turn it right, tighten it, turn it left. Takes a little bit getting used to, but not that big of a deal. And it's a Delrin top, so it doesn't pick up heat at all. The TFV4's drip tip is a little different. It's dual, so that's supposed to dissipate the heat, and it does a pretty good job. It is removable, but the entire thing comes out, and it looks like it would fit a normal 510 drip tip pretty good. So there's the differences in drip tips for you. Okay, while we're at the top of the tanks, I do want to talk about fill design. These are all three designed to be top fill, only except the Triforce can be filled from the bottom also. I don't know why you would, but you can. On the Cyclone, the top just screws off here like that. It has two nice size holes on the inside of there. Fill it up, regular threading, fairly easy top fill. On the Triforce, we talked about the reverse threading, so I'm going to turn it right to open it up. I'm going to pop that open, and this hole right there could be a little bit bigger, but I haven't had any major issues with it. Turn it left to put that tip back on. And then the TFV4 has a very unique top fill design here. It just flips open like that. It has a nice size hole in there. This one clearly is the best top fill design I've ever seen. That's super convenient. So the TFV4 definitely has an edge on fill. However, they're all top fill design and relatively easy to use. So I have some extra coils here. I want to show you the differences in the coil designs. The one for the Cyclone's interesting in that it doesn't protrude down through the bottom, but it is a fairly small coil. Looks like pretty much a shorter version of a standard Sensei Heracles coil. As far as the one on the Triforce goes, it's a really large coil with a huge bore, like 5mm for the coil that's in there. The TFV4 also really large, the biggest of all of them. However, the coil on the inside isn't as big. So I'll show you a comparison of all three of them. There you go. And this right here is Cyclone. Oop, the one I just dropped. That particular one is the Triforce, and this one is the TFV4. Now that I showed you the coils, let's talk about coil breaking. This is a big one for me because I'm a juice maker. I want to be able to put my juice in that tank, and I don't want to have to weather through some nasty tasting cotton. I want it to be good flavor right off the bat. Now I know that's not always possible, but I do look at that, and they definitely have different breaking times on these three tanks. On the Cyclone, I would say this one was about a half an hour break-in. It did take a little bit to break in. The cotton wasn't the worst tasting cotton I've ever had, but there was certainly a decent amount of break-in time, and I would call it average. I would say it was probably average break-in for a tank. As far as the Triforce goes, the best break-in I've ever seen. This thing, when you look on the inside, doesn't have a whole ton of cotton in it, and it does wick really well. But the break-in was maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and I know that some people have had coils that had no break-in at all. Literally tasted great right off the bat. Without a doubt, the best break-in time I've ever seen. Barely any cotton taste, and it was only for, maybe 10 draws on this particular coil. As far as the Smok TFV4 goes, definitely the worst break-in I have ever had on any tank, period. The worst tasting coil or cotton. It tasted like it was like regular old bleached white cotton, like we used to use when we first started using cotton. Tasted like that. It literally took like 3 hours for it to go away, and there's still a tinge of the taste. Still having a tough time getting that where I want it to be. So the break-in on this, the Smok, you let us down on that big time. So now that we talked about the break-in, let's talk about flavor out of these tanks. Obviously that's really important, especially to a juice maker, but I don't know anybody that doesn't enjoy good flavor out of their tank. So I'll go through these one at a time and talk about the flavor in it. And this flavor that I'm discussing right now is after the break-in time. All three of these coils are broke in. So the Cyclone, it has nice flavor. It's not a smash you in the face flavor, but it is nice. I don't feel like I'm losing much in this. It's good. Can't complain about it. Triforce flavor. This one I said had no break-in time. The flavor on this one to me is spot on to the way I made the juice. This tastes exactly like it's supposed to taste. It tastes like it tastes on a dripper. Big, strong flavor. Definitely better than what I just tasted on the Cyclone. TFV4, bitch to break in, but once I broke it in, let's see how it is. The flavor's pretty rich and pretty good on this, but I still get a tinge of that cotton, which bothers me, but it's just a tinge. So I would say this one's probably the second best flavor. It is a little bit better than what the Cyclone has, but not as good as what the Triforce has. Overall, after break-in, all of them have pretty good flavor. Triforce definitely gets the edge. So hopefully that helped out the flavor chasers there for you. But now, let's do something for the cloud chasers. I'm a rookie cloud chaser. Some of you may have seen my goofy video, The Quest. I am working on it. And in this room here, it's not going to be the best room for a wide angle for clouds. So I am going to have to go a little bit at a 45 with it. But I'll stand in the same spot on all three of them so you can have a comparison of what kind of vapor production you get out of each of these tanks. So basically what I'll do is I'll go back there and do that. There, the lighting is in the ceiling. Ain't going to be any major tricks there. There's no backlighting or anything. But if I do them all three in the exact same spot, blowing at the exact same angle, you should get a good idea of what each of them look like. So here we go. So as you can see, definitely be blowing at a 45. I'll do my best to kind of keep it over here, but I don't want to cut the cloud off. So we'll do it in the same order that we did all of them. I'll start out here with the Cyclone, and I am going to use regular cloud chasing methods that I use. So each exhale should be equal. That's the Cyclone. Triforce. And TFV4. Okay, so that gave you a good example of what the cloud production looks like on all three of these. I've spent a significant amount of time working on blowing clouds with them, filming them, and taking a look at the output. So I have definitely already have an opinion based off of them. To me, the Triforce is the best out of all of them. I think that you could actually use this in some smaller competitions, and as long as your technique was good, you could win competitions with this one. Second place I would give to the TFV4. It does produce really, really well. It's just below the Triforce, not quite as good, but it does produce very, very well. And then third would be the Cyclone. Cyclone is kind of falls short on production. It's not bad, but when compared to these two tanks, it's really kind of outclassed. Okay, so let's summarize what we've looked at so far. On several of the categories, these three tanks were virtually identical. I'm not going to focus on the categories that they were the same in. I'm just going to focus on the three things that are most important to me, which is flavor, cloud production, and break-in time. Those are the three things that are most important to me. In all three of those categories, the Triforce took the cake. The Triforce to me is the best tank out of these three. If you were going to go out and buy one of them and you weren't sure which one to get, you could only afford to get one of them. Definitely I would recommend the Triforce. As far as cloud production, the Triforce takes the cake. Flavor production, Triforce takes the cake. And in break-in time, it had the least amount of break-in time. So that's what I'm basing my opinion off of. All three of these tanks are quality tanks. I don't feel like any of them are a rip-off. I think they're all good tanks. If you can't get one and you want to get another, I would say the TFV4 would definitely come in second, although it does have the worst break-in time I've ever seen, but overall second. And then the Cyclone definitely is the third place tank for me. It's a quality tank. I like it. It just doesn't go above and beyond like the other two tanks do. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll try to continue to do videos like this. If you guys like them, give me some feedback. Definitely give me a subscribe here on my YouTube. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers. I do post a lot on Facebook. I know you guys watch a lot of this on Facebook. I am trying to grow my YouTube page. So if you don't mind, down below, click that little subscribe button. Guys, have a great day.